Hello and welcome to the Film School Chronicle, your wire right to the heart of the student film scene of Brisbane, Australia. I'm your host, Bryce Quinn, and joining me today is Harry Sheppard, the writer and director of Secrets to a Swayin Band. How are you, Harry?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. So, today we'll be talking about a couple of things, mostly Stasby. But first off, would you mind telling me about Secrets to a Swayin Band?
Secrets to a Swayin Band. So Secrets to a Swayin Band is a film that me and a couple of mates from school worked on last year. It's basically just a film about a group of guys that are in high school. They're trying to get a name for themselves. They're trying to get it big, trying to get all over Facebook and just, build a reputation kind of thing. And along with the help of a film student named Trent, they're able to get to somewhat that, get themselves some gigs, and yeah, they just run into a little bit of trouble along the way. But that's it. That's
sweet. And if I remember correctly from the movie, we literally just watched
together.
Oh, yeah. So it's a 2 hours and 10-minute feature-length film.
Yeah.
And it's available on YouTube. Is it available anywhere else?
No, it's just on YouTube for you to watch.
Cool. Yeah. Well, yeah. So we did actually just watch the movie, and I've got to say I'm a really, really big fan. Like, it was a lot of fun to watch. Little bits and pieces here and there, obviously, like...
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, the main goal of the whole movie is just that you have fun watching it.
Yes.
Because we had fun making it, and obviously, like, there's some moments that, some very big moments, some big beats kind of thing. Sometimes they don't really land, that's just purely from experience or lack thereof, I guess.
Yeah.
And, it's just skills that, you want to grow as a filmmaker over time. But with the whole goal of just, like, having all this stuff in the movie that just, you have a lot of fun shooting and it's a lot of fun to watch. You have a bunch of different stuff in it. That was mostly our goal.
And I think, just from, a new audience member, I can say you definitely succeeded with that goal.
You.
So very well done. And I don't know if there's, I doubt there's a lot of people our age or even a bit older who can say that they themselves directed, wrote, and produced their own feature film. So kudos to you. It was very impressive to watch. But, so I've got a couple of questions here. First one is, you worked on the film for over a year, so anything you can tell us about that experience?
You always run into this thing where when you start a project, you're really enthusiastic about it and you want to keep just going with it. And then once you start getting into it, you start losing that sort of motivation because the idea of the spark just kind of dies down a little bit over time. And I felt... I think I learn't a lot about that through Stasby, just being able to like push through, just keep doing, knowing that the story I was telling was a story worth telling. And there were plenty of moments during filming where I was just like, I could be working on this idea I have, or I could be writing my pilot for this kind of thing, or I should be focusing on my actual degree.
Yeah, like life gets in the way, right?
Exactly, yeah. Or, picking up more shifts at work kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I was still able to go to, when you think about it, I was able to go to a film shoot with some of my closest friends from school, almost on average once a week, to film for about 4 or 5 hours, just do a scene, bounce off each other. It was really fun. And as tough as it is to keep that sort of drive throughout the process, you always have these thoughts. It's like, is this actually going to turn into anything? Is this a waste of time? When you see the end product, and obviously watching Stasby, there's definitely flaws in it that I picked up on, especially after 3 months of gaining more film knowledge. But, watching it, especially at a audience at our old school, it's really refreshing. It's a really good reward to see how people react to your art. It's breathtaking.
And just to touch on that quickly, so you screened the film at, which college was it?
So I went to Redlands College, same as pretty much everyone else who worked in the film. And they let us have a first time screening 2 weeks before we put it up on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So our deadline kind of got a little bit rushed towards the end there. But they hosted a whole event. There was 2 nights and about 150 people on each, which was really fun. Wasn't a massive red carpet event. It was just kind of a get together, celebrate what the alumni of this college has done kind of thing. And it was loads of fun seeing how people react, seeing... families of, friends of friends of some of the actors, families of the actors, and just some people I even know from school is just awesome.
No, it sounds like a awesome event to be a part of, yeah.
Yeah.
But just at the end there, you said you felt a bit rushed getting to that deadline of the 2 weeks before it was out on YouTube. Was there any like crunch that went on?
So
before release?
Lachlan Margetts, who is one of the editors and visual effects supervisor for the film, he also plays one of the side characters. Him and I, towards the very end in November and a little bit of October, it was just him and I. I'd go to his place, we just be at his house, and we just grind through the entire film. We'd have like a massive Excel spreadsheet saying, this is what we have to do, you know, kind of thing. I'd give him some visual effects shots. I'd go through the whole film, seeing what sounds needed to be added, kind of thing. And let's just say that, you know, living very close to a Macca's was really convenient. You know, we'd go down at like 3 a.m. in the morning, 2 days before the premiere. Yeah. You know, because we're having some render issues or whatnot. Okay. So we'll just like, premiere's frozen. Tell you what, let's go grab some Macca's, and when we get back, let's hope it's not frozen. And it wasn't, and we were able to actually get the film out on time. It's fantastic.
Some magical 3 a.m. Macca's.
But no, honestly, yeah. Props off to Lockie. You know, I only met him at uni earlier that year, and the fact that he was like so dedicated to this project was absolutely...
And he even came in to act on it as well.
Exactly. Like you know, he did so much of the film, and like it's absolutely insane that he had that much belief in the project and that he had that much so much enthusiasm as I did as well, which was just epic. So kudos to Lockie.
Yeah, well, I do plan on hopefully getting you back for another interview with possibly some more people, so maybe Lockie be interested as well.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see how we go. I'm gonna jump to, do you have any plans for Stasby now that it's been released?
Oh, that's a good question.
Or are you just kind of happy now that it's on YouTube and it's finished, you can take your deep breath and move on to the next thing?
We were talking about a Steel short film.
Oh, Steel short film. If you're unfamiliar, if you haven't seen the movie, Steel is the, I'd say comic relief character.
He's the comic relief. Yeah, so Nat, he was my best friend in school, and he's the guy who plays Steel, Nat Weller. And we just had these like spitball ideas of like, what if we were to do a Steel spin-off movie or like a Steel spin-off short film kind of thing. I don't think we're ever going to do it just because like, you know, there's so many more things I want to try and explore, a lot more things I want to go in terms of writing. You know, I want to kind of move out of that sort of comedy genre, not just say this movie was funny. But
I thought it was funny. There was definitely a few moments that I got a legitimate laugh.
There's some moments where it's like, but no, I think in terms of the world created by Stasby, I think that's been sort of put to rest. I don't really have many plans. I think at the moment it's really good for a resume. Yeah. You know, if I want to apply for an internship somewhere, or, you know, just a boost to get into the actual film industry, then I think it works pretty well. But as a cinematic universe, probably not.
Just leave it. Just you're happy with how it is.
I'm good. It's not my Iron Man.
Fair enough.
Yeah, my Iron Man.
Do you have any crazy stories from the production?
Crazy stories. We did have like, I don't have anything that was just like, whoa, I can't believe this happened, or like there was insane that happened on set. At least not that I can remember. But one problem we did have quite a bit was that, because we're just shooting around locations, and when people come up to us, we just tell them it's a school production, you know? We don't want to be like, oh, we're making a feature film, because that's like a big deal, and it's just, it's a little much. So we just say, oh, it's for school kind of thing. It's a bit of a lie, but, you know, we got the job done. One of the just like annoying things on set I could say was when people would come up to us, not to ask us what was going on, but just to put their problems on us. Just to like really come up and just... There was one night where I was with Harry Johnson, who plays Louis, and Harry Bass, who plays Preston, and we're doing a shoot of a scene, and this one guy, we were shooting very close to a foreshore, and he just comes up to the car, and he starts hassling us about how some guy stole his bait because he was going fishing, and he's like, oh, I reported it to the council and whatnot, and just saying, that's just stupid, innit? And he went on for like 10 minutes straight. It's
like, yeah, mate, that's really stupid. Can you leave us alone?
I'm there, like outside the cars. Harry and, well, the two Harrys were inside the car. I was outside getting a shot right. I'm just there with my camera, just waiting for this guy to finish. Just telling us about it. And for some reason, Harry Bass is just saying, like, he's going with the conversation. He's like keeping it going. I'm like, Harry, what are you doing?
Just kill it. Let the conversation die. Let him walk away.
Yeah, he left, and what do you call it? I just went up to Johnson. Was like, did we care what he's saying? He's like, no, absolutely not. But yeah, we had other moments where we were shooting in the city, and we need a scene where a character's going up the stairs. with this elderly woman. She came by. She was just walking past us, and she was gonna go walk up the stairs. But she was walking really slowly. You know, we're like, okay, well, just take your time. We'll shoot it after she does. As soon as she gets to the stairs, she just stops and looks at her piece of paper for about 2 minutes straight. Just looks down, looking at it, and we're just kind of there. We're just like, all right, you know, just get on with it, kind of thing. She's still looking. She pulls up the paper to like eye level, does like a whole 180, and just like, I don't know if it might have been a map or something. I was like, she was there for like a solid 2-3 minutes, whereas me, Guy on sound, Lockie, and Brendan who plays Trent are just there, like, okay, yeah, alright, just
take your time.
Take your time.
Reading her map.
To be fair, we are in a public place, you know, we don't have any permits for filming, so.
No, it's fine. Guerrilla filmmaking is
it's just a YouTube video. It's just a YouTube video.
It is just a YouTube video.
It's not like so you're allowed to get away with it, you know.
I had another question and I forgot it. I'm going to jump to my second question that I haven't forgot yet. So I was watching the film and a lot of the shots, and you even mentioned this when we were sitting there watching it, definitely like inspired by Edgar Wright and his
a lot of the
editing
was Edgar Wright.
Just quickly, the actual question is, like, aside from Edgar Wright, or including Edgar Wright, what are the influences that you had for your directing style for Stasby?
So a lot of it was Edgar Wright, but I always liked that sort of that close up sort of where there's like a really big depth of field. I worked primarily with the same lens throughout filming. You'll see a lot of the shots at the same focal length, kind of thing. I really liked that sort of thing. In terms of directing stars I took influence from, overall, I wouldn't say there was one particular one, but I say I used elements of certain directors, like Tarantino and his sort of long shots, and how he like writes some dialogue is a little inspired by that. Edgar Wright, especially with the editing, was very Edgar Wright influence. I'd say one of the biggest influences for cinematography was this show I watched on Netflix. It's actually really new. It's called Outer Banks. And the way it was shot, especially the aspect ratio it was in, it just really worked. And from that point on, I was like really into that sort of handheld, a little shaky sort of aesthetic, just because like it kind of to me it just sells that like characters are just there talking amongst each other. This is a conversation they're having. We're just there with them in the moment. And then of course in like some of the more dramatic scenes, the scenes with bigger movements, we used a stabilizing system to like get really smooth shots, kind of thing. But it's just a combination of a bunch of directors and just using elements in places that I think they work. And I think Edgar Wright was definitely probably the biggest of them all.
Oh, awesome. Well, speaking to your inspirations for directors and everything, I want to hear a little bit about Harry Sheppard. How would you pitch yourself to someone else? Who's the kind of guy who's going to make a feature film just in his own spare time?
Oh, all right.
Take some time. Feel free.
Oh, we're jumping into philosophy. All right. I don't know. I've always wanted to tell stories. Like I remember back in grade 9, I tried getting guys on board for like an apocalyptic sort of forest sort of shoot, like a series kind of thing. I was trying to like organize that. Nobody really wanted to do it because the school I went to at the time, no one was really into movie making kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've definitely gone through that massive phase where you start off wanting to like make movies like Marvel movies and Star Wars movies and like all these crazy movies that like you want to make because you really like watching those kind of movies that have these grand sort of things or these characters that like really well if you've gotten to know for so long. So I've definitely gone through that phase where I want to do like sort of Marvel movies. That was like back in grade 10, and then
I'm still very definitely in that phase.
Oh,
I'll tell you now.
Oh no, like just that sort of energy, that sort of movie kind of thing where it's more about how it looks and the visuals and the visual effects and the flashiness of the whole thing.
Right.
And I think throughout school I was more intrigued by personal stories. And in this movie, there's no crazy action pieces. It prioritizes characters over pretty much everything else. And
I don't know. I felt like that one action scene was pretty crazy and ambitious as well for the first time feature film. But yeah,
a little bit, yeah. But no, I always, especially with Stasby, I always like drawing from personal experiences. Whenever I think of like a new idea, especially now, and Stasby comes from like a place of ambition, I guess, and like where that can take you. And you'll see that with some of the characters, like, you know, ambition, it can be a great thing. It can take your ideas and make them even wilder, but it gets to a point where it just kind of like, you know, you go beyond your own ethics or your own sort of morals, I guess, to try and get where you are, and you like lose that part of yourself, I guess.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's something I've definitely gone through in the past. I think everybody's gone through that in the past. But yeah, it definitely... What was the question again? How did it... how would I pitch myself?
Yeah.
I just like telling stories about characters. You know, I like working with people. You know, that's the most intriguing thing about film to me, is how people talk to other people. And
I think that definitely shone through in the film. Something I noticed very definitely was the characters had their roles and they stuck to them the whole time. The character writing was very consistent. And not just the character writing of like, oh, it's the comic relief character, oh, it's the edgy drummer guy. But throughout the film, they had their arcs. They all had their different arcs and the relationships they had to each character. And that was incredibly and impressively consistent. Like, that didn't change. And you'll notice, like, even in a feature film, like Hollywood feature film, that those things can sometimes be very transient and very insubstantial and change on a whim. Whereas in this, it was definite and defined the whole time.
Yeah. Well, with the main characters, I asked myself the questions like, okay, Lewis is this really charismatic 16-year-old kid, massive charmer, and, you know, he's really good looking, spends a lot of time with his hair. What else is he?
Yeah.
You know?
Was a bit like, deeper than the surface level.
You know, it's like you pick a stereotype and then you sort of turn that into a three-dimension character, you know? Like, Dexter, he's an NG dude who doesn't like making new friends kind of thing. What else is he more than that, you know? Yeah. And you just, like... So you lay out the 2D work, and then all this 3D work is just everything that's sort of behind that character. Not really that you see up front, but that you, like, see not only throughout the film do you, like, pick up on it, but you see how it changes in a way.
And how those changes tie into the narrative events of the film itself and, you know, what they do. So not only is Dex, you know, an edgy guy who's struggling with, like, inner turmoil and everything as that three-dimensional side you say, but it comes through when he slaps Billy. That's a narrative event that changes the story state because of his edginess and because of his character. Yeah. So it's that character-driven story that I think you really nailed, and I was most impressed by throughout the film.
Oh yeah, I always like that. I don't like plot sort of... I think in the whole film there's like one thing where the plot moves the story forward, and that's when they get the gig. But other than that, every other plot point is motivated by a character's decision and decision. And I don't know. I just really like when that happens.
So to refer to what you're saying, when the character walks in, it's a side character, a minor character. I can't remember her name. If you'll help me out.
Oh, Courtney.
Courtney. So Courtney walks in. She's like, "Hey, I've got you guys a gig." So that is definitely the plot driving the plot forward.
Yes.
But you did set it up way earlier, where she does the exact same thing of like he goes to her for a gig, wasn't it?
No. She says, what do you call it? He's like complaining about a gig, and then she's like, if you pay for my fuel tank, then I can probably ask one of my mates to get you a gig at this place.
Right, and that happens, 10 or 15 minutes earlier in the film, roughly. I've only seen it once. So those characters have that interaction, and then later on, she walks in, and you've set up her character to have that interaction. That is her role to play in the story. So even then, still, it's a character designed to drive the plot forward. Yeah, exactly. It's still been set up well, and it's still. Honestly, I'm thinking back on it now. I just get more and more impressed, like of the strength of the script.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
cheers. It was like it was weird because the story the story of like how it starts and ends has always been the same. It was always going to start off with them walking around the lounge room, talking about Lewis just going off about how they're going to be the best in the world. He's like really up himself kind of thing. It was always going to end with Billy and him playing guitar at the end. Instead of Lewis being above them, Lewis was going to be like kind of with them in a way. It was always going to be like that. But the foundations of everything that happened in the middle was very like for a long time just kind of like changed quite a bit. We reshot a couple scenes Some of them just because they were shot really early, and our inexperience can kind of shine through that. You know, like some of the shots on my part weren't exactly the best. You know, like my directing skills weren't the best, and I'll even say some of their acting wasn't exactly there yet. Well, you know, they didn't really know anything about their characters, and
just quickly, none of them are studying acting, are they? Aside from Brendan?
Brendan, he's studying acting professionally, and he's doing a fantastic job.
But all the other guys are just mates from high school.
They're mates from some of them, most of them we were in like a school musical kind of thing. So when I first saw the idea, I was like, okay, they probably might want to do that because they've done sort of similar stuff before. Mm-hmm. And when I pitched them, I was actually really surprised that all 5 said yes.
Yeah, no, I'd be surprised as well, actually, yeah.
Sorry.
It can be hard getting just mates, especially like high school mates to agree to come on projects.
Most of them love films, and, you know, they're in musicals, and, you know, they're just mates, you know, and we were going out of school kind of thing. We were all going our separate ways, and I guess I thought, like, you know, I'm going to lose contact with these guys if, you know, in like 2 years or something like that, you know, we're all going to go down a separate paths kind of thing. We're all going to be studying different things. So I knew if I wanted to make a feature film, it would have to be the year after high school.
Right.
Otherwise, you know, like we could be talking about through high school. I could have spent like that whole year planning, but like I would have lost touch with them, and so like
wasted the time that you actually had with them.
Well, it'd be a lot harder to find people willing to do like a feature length film, just like, you know, for free basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing. My actors, they did the whole thing for free. You know, it was just kind of like, you know, a fun little project to do with the mates, and occasionally I'd shout them a zinger box from KFC, which it sort of became a tradition towards the end.
No, it's
get one after every shift.
Did you find, so working with mates from high school, that it strained your relationship at all?
Not really. Me and what's his name, Harrison Johnson, who plays Louis, we'd send each other ideas about about the film over and over. I think January to March we were sort of in that weird zone where we didn't really know what the film was going to be. I kind of wish I spent a bit more time on pre-production, just, you know, laying out, okay, what exactly is happening, you know, what is this film? What's the tone? What's the theme we're going for? And, you know, is it something people are going to enjoy? Luckily, the pandemic hit.
Oh, so this is March last year?
Yeah, March last year. Luckily, I'm not going to say luckily. The pandemic hit.
Luckily in certain respects.
Yeah, me and Harry Johnson, we'd be on video call quite a bit. Just like going back and forth with so many ideas about this film, how to, what we do to explore each character. There were so many different subplots. We trade them out for different subplots. We'd just like these characters that I wasn't even really that familiar with. Like, you know, I created them, but I wasn't like, you know, invested in them yet. You know, it's just kind of like those stereotypes. Didn't really have that third dimension yet. I think through that quarantine, talking to Harry Johnson, it really
took shape.
Yeah, the characters took shape, and just even like talking it, like the story out loud with a lot of the cast just really helped me see how the characters changed for the whole thing. And that, like, I think that's my favorite part about the writing process, is not the actual script itself, but just figuring out, like, just build. It's like, what do you call it? When you create a sim.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. And
half of it's your design and direction, but then half of it kind of just comes to life.
Exactly, yeah. Well, you know, you draw on past experiences as well, just like, you know, for that 2D shape you want to draw on someone, like, a lot of the characters, probably besides Ross, is the nicest guy ever. A lot of them are very similar to who they are in real life. Like Harry Johnson, he's very charismatic, he's very charming.
And Ross you refer to as like the main villain
of the
story.
Sorry, Ross is Dexter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. But Harry Bass is also a lovely man in real life. He's not.
Yeah, he's not a vaudevillian villain.
Yeah, he's not. He's not.
Mustache.
No, but Billy, played by Nathan Eve in real life, he's really like sweet. He's really lighthearted, and he's just really innocent. Shown through the film as well through the character of Billy. Ross, he's not really the like what do you call it? Putting his shoulder on you. Is that a phrase?
I've got no idea.
Turning your back on you, kind of like shrugging everything off. You know, he's a really nice guy. But I think a lot of that, you know, deep and personal stuff, what do you call it, off his side comes from him. Because, you know, you're like, he's a really, what do you call it, he likes talking about, you know, really deep things.
Okay.
And Nat, who plays Steel, you know, he's an absolute goofball. He makes me laugh all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I wrote Steel, I just thought, what are the best parts about Nat? And, you know, I just exaggerated them.
Yeah,
and
excellent.
It shows up in film.
Well, we're getting towards wrapping up here, but I've got
Okay.
one more question. Do you have any other ideas in the works you'd be willing to talk about with us today?
So I've taken a step back from 5 main characters at once.
Yep.
I'm working on a sort of, idea at the moment, just mainly focused on a trinity of characters, just 3 separate characters. It dives a little bit into that genre of romance, but I think it wouldn't really be considered a romance story, perhaps, rather how these 3 characters interact with each other, sort of thing. It's an idea I've been fleshing out since halfway through Stasby. Just really, I'm still in that phase where I'm diving through the characters where thinking like, you know, is it more, what can I do more than this? Like, this character is this, what else are they? Sort of thing. I'm still in that phase. But, yeah, it's something I definitely want to work on in the future. In terms of making another feature film by myself, probably not.
Not ever, or?
Well, I mean, like, in this degree,
Okay.
you know, like, getting actors for free and funding the whole thing ourselves, not too smart, but yeah, like in the future, it's definitely something I would like to try and do. I want to continue to write. I want to continue to be a better writer, and yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today, Harry.
It's alright. Thanks for having me again.
No worries at all. It's been an absolute pleasure. And our listeners can find Stasby, Secrets to a Swayin Band on YouTube. It's out there for free, so go ahead and give it a watch.
It's 2 hours and 10 minutes long.
And it's fantastic all the way through.
If you can sit through the whole thing,
no,
good on you.
It's great. It's great.
I'll give you a sticker.
This has been the Film School Chronicle, and until next time, thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, Bryce.